set me up with a Restream studio, which means that I have my videos now going straight to YouTube and Facebook. And let's just cross fingers that this all works. And also he's given me the loan of a webcam. So I'm pretty stoked about all of that and the newness coming into my reality, and the support that I've been given. Very much appreciate it. So today's topic is on my experiences with the Anunnaki. This is a very interesting topic because it's something that happened to me on my journey. See, my life has been, I don't know if all of you guys know this, but in my reality, I've kind of lived in two different realities. I've lived here on Earth as normal, and then I've had this whole other experience with spirits and extraterrestrials and elementals and yeah, you name it, I've had it. It seemed to be whatever I focused on in that spiritual world I can bring to me. I dabbled in with ghosts and paranormal at one stage, and then decided that my goal with this gift was to find the potential of humanity. And I'm going to go back to the beginning of the story so that you can get a full understanding of what really took place, because this wasn't just about the Anunnaki. This was about 4 different species that came to me over the span of 10 years. Before I even really got into any of this, I just used to get visions and trying to muddle through them. And when I say visions, I'm not talking about something that's in my head. I would be woken up and see things and see people and see, you know, beings that are trying to show me things. And so there's, I think it was around 2000 and what would have been before that, about 2004 or something like that. I had a pretty full-on experience, probably around 2000, 2004, full-on experience. I have written this down, so I should probably find the dates, where I woke up and I saw my whole window. I had a huge window beside our bed. My whole window imploded inwards, this shards of glass. It was a massive explosion, obviously gave me a fright, got me to sit up. And I saw 4 white, etheric, angelic beings galloping on horseback, and they were circling above me. And I said something in that moment that I couldn't remember. It was like it came through me, but my husband at the time, partner at the time, said that I had said, they are coming soon, not just yet. I have been waiting for this one. And then the song, A Band Full of Angels, started going around in my head. It was full on. And something, obviously, these sort of impacting things that happen to you stay with you. And then I was woken up after that, as in woken up spiritually to the fact that I had been asleep in this illusional program. And I started getting a lot more visions and stuff. I went and saw a lady who did a shamanic reading with me to try to find my animal guide, and it was an eagle. And with that, there was just this huge experience where a big X came down at me, and it was kind of like I opened up the floodgates. Now, they asked me, because I said, hang on, this is way too much, because I was getting messages every single night, and I was not getting much sleep. So I said, hang on a second, this is what's going to happen, because this is just too much. I took the reins and I asked them for guidance. I asked, and they told me that I would have to ask questions. So that night when it happened, the first question that popped into my head was, okay, what's humanity's potential? I mean, not what's humanity's potential, that came after, what's humanity's true history. Sorry. And they said to me, they then left that, and then they carried on waking me up. And it wasn't until I realized over the next 10, 12, 13 years that I had been gifted with these 4 different species that came to me, and it all kind of wrapped up in 2006, 16, 17, somewhere around there. And I realized that there was this whole story that had been told to me, and I remembered that question that I asked at the beginning. The only reason why I asked that question at the beginning is because I always thought history and schooling was wrong, and there was something school. If I'm not talking about the immediate history that just happened or anything, but I'm talking about way, way back, and the important stuff of humanity. So in saying all of that, here we come to around 2013. Now, I had already had visitations from the Draconians who tried to attack me and woke me up in a powerful manner, because I realized how much power I had, that I didn't need to fear them. Then I had the Palladians, who were obviously a lot more gentler, and they were helping train us at one stage in our history. And then next came the Anunnaki. And the reason why I want to talk about the Anunnaki is because I've seen a few posts lately about the Anunnaki movie, and people are starting to get down on them and all that sort of stuff. Now, I get that. I understand where they're coming from. There is a actual overall story that does defy what people are saying, because they did take charge of us. But I'll get back into that. Let's go back to the story of what actually happened to me. So this night I was starting to get this feeling that something was going to be shown to me, and I took my daughters to drop them off. And on this big trip, it was about an hour trip, I just kept seeing over and over 444, 444, 444 everywhere. Like, it was absolutely everywhere, on billboards, and the car that I was following, and car that I was following on the way back. And I'm like, whoa, something's brewing here. And then that night I woke up at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I saw an orange UFO outside my bedroom window. Now, it was like a light. It was only, a couple of feet big. It was just like a light that had gone into the shape of what we would normally perceive as a saucer shape of a UFO, but I could tell that it was made out only of light, like a sphere light ball had shown itself as this UFO, kind of like showing me there's something of transport that was coming. That very next morning I woke up and I went online, and one of the first posts that I read was another lady in the same town who said, did anyone see that orange UFO last night? So I knew that this wasn't just a vision, that's something that I would just see. This was something that was for real. This was outside my window, and they were coming to visit me. I then had sent a text message to a friend of mine about my kids, and when I woke up in the next morning, I saw this message that was, it was just on my phone, even though I had sent it to somebody, and the message said, they've arrived. Now, obviously that was something that I sent to my friend for my kids, but for it to be on my phone straight up when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, that just triggered something in me, because I remembered back when those, beings and fallen angels or whatever that was smashing through my window, that I said, they're coming soon, not just yet. I've been waiting for this one. So that kind of brought back that memory. That night, I woke up and I saw with my eyes, this is for real, this is not something that I have in my imagination. And honestly, if you were in the room, you could speak to me, I could speak to you, the whole fanatic. I saw 4 humongous beings, like very tall, and I was lucky I had a pretty high, I had like 11 8-foot ceiling. I was in a very old home. It was about 100 years old. So my bedroom had these really tall ceilings. And these guys were at least 9.5 foot. Now, they showed themselves. I didn't even know anything about the Anunnaki at this stage. I think I had kind of heard about them, but nothing much other than. But these 4 beings are standing in my room, and they had like a cloak over their head. They shadowed themselves a lot. They didn't want to show their actual facial expressions or anything. I do remember the hair being kind of wavy and long and dark. And they stood there, and they kind of, would you say, they wanted to test me out. So I had a lamp beside my bed, and normally, you know, when I see something and it gives me a bit of a fright because it could be quite a powerful image or whatever, like 4 huge beings in my room, I'll reach for my light, because what's happened is my brain waves have gone into alpha state, and so I am able to see these other frequencies. And I've learned that if I flick on the light, it brings me back into a different vibrational state in my mind, so I can flick back into beta state, and then I can, you know, the beings sort of disappear. Well, most times they disappear, depending on whether they really want to stay there and have a chat or whatever. But this is what I usually do if I do get a really big fright. So I didn't even think about my bedside lamp at all. It was like something had blocked my mind from even remembering that I had that there. And I ended up reaching through, they wanted me to go through them and then flick on the light behind them, because they wanted to see, I suppose, my strength within myself or something. I didn't know what was going on. All I remember is I got to get to the light behind them. And so I stood up, and I literally I just went, excuse me, because I could feel the power. These beings were immensely powerful, and I'm like, excuse me, you know, don't mean to be rude, but I am so going to go through you to get to that light. And I flicked it on, and they had disappeared because I shut myself out of that. Well, from then on, I used to, the next so many weeks and months, I would wake up paralyzed. And I asked about that, and I was told that, I was actually told in a dream, showing that if they even said hello to me, their hello, which would have been nice and gentle for them, is so powerful that in my mindset, I would perceive it as something very frightening. So they told me that they had to put me asleep, take me out of the ship, download whatever, and then I would be able to come back. And so sometimes when I come back, I would be paralyzed still, and I didn't like that. So I told them, you know, you've got to fix that problem, because I'm claustrophobic at the best times. Back then I was. So yeah, so that was interesting. Now, what I learned from them, and they showed me some cool things. They showed me the breath of Earth. They showed me the life coming off Earth, and it was got white light coming in and gold light coming out. And it was like this breath of energy through life coming and going on Earth. So they weren't there to like overpower me or anything, but it's just their presence was pretty powerful. Now, from my understanding, and when I tap into the Anunnaki, I do feel like because there was a certain time in humanity's evolution when we came from source energy and we went on our journey. We first went through a reality that was mainly all to do with the right brain and the imagination and the intuition. And as we came out the outside, there's this big, long, like time lapse of a while where we had flipped from going right brain to learning all about the left brain. Now, when that happened, because we were pretty powerful with our right brain and our imagination and our creativities, and we started mucking things up a bit. The reflection was that we needed to be shut down right brain so we could learn all about the left brain. Now, the left brain's all about logic. So who better to bring in than the Anunnaki, who are all about logic and the power of their immense power and everything, and the Draconians, the reptilians as well. So those two beings were brought in to bring us to a more left brain logical reality, which we're obviously now coming to the very end of this now. So their job was to bring in, because we were severed from source energy, as in the right brain is connected to that to source energy and the oneness and the knowing who we are and the imagination and the intuition and all that. Severed from that was put to sleep, just like in our nursery rhymes. This is why everything's reflected to us. When that was put to sleep, we ended up having no connection to source energy. So they needed to bring in a godlike kind of a leadership reality, so that our logic could play its game out, because our logic needs something. It usually relies on going through intuition to meet up with source energy. But now that's severed, so it needed something of great leadership. So that's why the Anunnaki came, and they became our so-called leaders, and they wanted to. Their job was to sever that story of the right brain. Now, I don't know if they really knew this at the time. Stories are stories. They might have just felt that pull, or I think they won a war, and then they came through, and so that was their job, and they knew what their job was. So everybody has their pieces to play, and not everyone knows, even when they do play their pieces, that it was supposed to all happen. And that's why everyone's experience is needed. So they brought in agriculture and mathematics, and we weren't telepathic anymore, so they brought in language. They brought in all of these things. They were kind of seen as gods because of that sever of the right brain. Now they've come to the point where we'll come back, and their reason for coming back is because they can now learn from us. But they know, the ones that I met knew that we needed to be set free to go on this evolutional path of creating something beautiful and brand new from the love of our hearts for everything, not for, I choose not that, because everything is oneness. There's not one thing out there that isn't part of us and our reality. Yes, there are leaderships on this planet, on Earth, that are holding us bondage because they've had such a great time being in power of us. So they're like, oh, I don't want to let go of that. And they're kind of trying to sever and break off from oneness. Hello, they can't. They are us and we are them. It won't work. But they having a good crack at it. And once they realize and let go of their fear, then they can join us who are awoken to the real story, and realize that they can also help create a beautiful new existence as well, from love for all. So I just needed to really clear that up with the Anunnaki, because there's a lot going on the internet that's saying if they come back, oh my God, they're going to attack us. They're going to, well, they could have already done that ages ago. Like, really, the ones that we really need to watch out for are the ones that are still holding on to their leadership at the moment. They're the ones in charge at the moment, because they're still trying to keep that illusion going, which was their job. But it's overdone. It's done with now, guys. You need to let it go, because we would like you to join us in this whole brand new creation from oneness, from combining both our right and our left hemispheres together, and trusting the unknown aspects of ourselves to be able to create something absolutely beautiful. So I'll leave you at that. Thank you very much. I hope this all worked. I'm looking at Studio Live on a Restream instead of YouTube and Facebook, so it's all very different for me, but I'll get back to your messages and that, and if there are any, and answer as many as I can. Thank you. Signing off. Bye.